Switching over to American football, Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins have their first preseason game that I'll be going to on Saturday. I don't know when this video is going to get out, whether it's going to be out before the game tomorrow or it's going to be out on Monday. So it's probably going to be out on Monday, so y'all already know how the preseason game went. But we, as Dolphins fans, we need to realize what the expectations of this team should be. And that could go one of two ways. Whether it be too high of expectations or too low of expectations. Miami Dolphins offseason this year was phenomenal. They decided to stick with the quarterback instead of the head coach. Let go of Brian Flores. We'll see whether that was the right decision or not. I believe in Mike McDaniel. But you decide to stick with Tua. You support him, Cedric Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, Teron Armstead. Keep that defense together. Keep most of the defensive coaching staff together as well. So that should be still a top 10 defense on the other side. And now the offense has drastically improved. And supporting Tua is now Tua's time to prove himself. So what should our expectations be? What is a good season versus what is a bad season? And last few seasons we've been saying, want to see progress. 2 years ago, we saw that. We really exploded onto the scene with the second year under Brian Flores. We nearly made it to the playoffs, got all the way up until the last game of the season where we got humiliated by the Bills. But that really opened our eyes to what this team could be. That was still with a terrible offense. Tua's first year wasn't necessarily the best. Then we move on to last year. Last year there was some hope that we can make the playoffs, but again, it was another year that, okay, we need to develop the team, need to push on forward, and it was rocky. Start off the year 1-7, turn things around on the doorstep of the playoffs, again, fail to win in Tennessee. That knocks us out of the playoffs, win the last game of the season to go 2-0 against the Patriots. So again, 2 years in a row on the doorstep of the playoffs, 19 combined wins in 2 seasons. So where does that leave us now? I think we have to make the playoffs this year. We have to make the playoffs for Tua's sake and really the development of the team's sake. I'm tired of being in development mode. Now, are we going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. Now, of course, we didn't say that about the Bengals last year. Bengals last year, you look back, I had them finishing 4th in their division just as much as pretty much everybody else did. They represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. I didn't see that coming. No one else saw that coming. So things can happen. You add a superstar wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. You build that offense that Tua can be somewhat comfortable in, similar to where he was with Alabama. Offensive line still a concern, but last year with the Bengals, the offensive line was still a concern. And Joe Burrow had a very good year. Jamar Chase, Rookie of the Year, one of the best rookie seasons from wide receiver ever. And they got to the Super Bowl. So for the Dolphins, I'm tired of sitting here and saying, competing is good enough. No, we need to make the playoffs. Tua has to deliver us and bring us at the very least into the playoffs. Now, once we get there, we can have a completely separate conversation once we actually make it to the playoffs. But if we don't make it, it's a failure of a season, and we're probably moving off Tua. You can only support him so much. We've spent so much money. Gave Tyreek Hill $30 million a season, gave up multiple draft picks. You bring in Cedric Wilson, you let go of Devontae Parker because he doesn't really work with Tua. You give Gesicki the franchise tag. Decisions going to have to be made about him in the offseason. And we're looking at a much better crop of quarterback talent in the draft next year than we saw this year. Bryce Young from Alabama, C.J. Stroud, just to name a couple. Arguably 3 of the first top 5 picks will be quarterbacks. And you just lost one of our own first-round picks, so where our first-round pick ends up being is going to be reliant on where the 49ers end up, which obviously you can't really bank on them having a bad season. Last year, Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm very middle of the road when it comes to Garoppolo. Don't love him, don't hate him, but he's gotten to a Super Bowl, he's gotten to an NFC Championship, so there's clearly at least something there. But now they're moving on to Trey Lance, who I think is a baller. And there might be some growing pains at first, but dude's a stud. There's everything with Trey Lance that you could asked for in a quarterback. So we'll see if that materializes, and I expect it to. So I don't believe the 49ers draft pick is going to be worth anything close to good enough to get a top quarterback next year. So that means you're going to have to give up even more assets if you want to move up and get a quarterback if Tua stinks. So really, hopefully, Tua ends up being good. And I don't have the schedule in front of me right now, but I'm gonna pull it up. The Dolphins easily could win 11 games. I think when I looked at it, that was my first guess. I'll run through this. I didn't really plan on this, but I'm just going to run through this real quick, what I think the record is going to end up being. I think we'll beat the Patriots opening day. I think we'll beat the Ravens week 2, so 2-0, start the season. Then we follow the Bills and the Bengals. Probably going to drop both of those, going to 2-2. Then we have the Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, Texans. That is a very favorable run of things. Definitely should beat the Jets, Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, Texans, because now we know Deshaun Watson is going to be out for that Browns game. So the Vikings is the threat there. Vikings, I'm really high on this year. They switch up head coaches. Kevin O'Connell's going to come in, and I think really going to open up that offense. So let's just go with 3-2 versus the Jets. I'll go with 3-3 against the Vikings. Vikings take that, but that is really close. 4-3 with the Steelers, 5-3 with the Lions, 6-3 with the Bears, 7-3 with the Browns, 8-3 with the Texans. So if you open up 8-3, that is fantastic. Then the schedule does get harder. 49ers, let's probably go with L there. 49ers are really light. So was that 8-4? Chargers in LA, I'll go with the Chargers, 8-5. 8-6 with the Bills. Then we play the Packers. I don't really think the Packers are going to... I think the Packers could fight for a wildcard spot, but I think Packers are in a worse position than a lot of people think. So I'll go with 9-5, then Patriots 10-5, then Jets 11-5. So I think 11-5 is a very realistic expectation for the Miami Dolphins, and that should be a playoff spot. We missed the playoffs 2 years ago with double-digit wins, 10 wins, just fell short. 11 wins should get you into the playoffs. So, as things stand, there could be some more movement around the NFL and the AFC. Patriots, I don't think are going to be a threat this year. Their offense, every report coming out of the Patriots camp is that it's looking rough, and I mean it makes sense. You have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running the offense, two guys that have never coached the offensive side of the ball as co-offensive coordinators. Practically, I don't think that's going to work out well. So I think Patriots aren't going to be much competition in the AFC East. I think the Jets are going to develop, but the Jets at the end of the day are still the Jets. So I don't think the Jets are going to compete. So within division, we should for sure have second place on lock, and I would love to see us finally take one from the Bills. But, they're the Bills. They're the best team in the league, in my opinion. So if we go 0-2 against the Bills, but we go 4-0 against the other two teams, that's not too bad. So if we finish 11 wins, I think that's a good season. If we make the playoffs, that's a good season. But really, anything else, that would be a big concern for me as a Dolphins fan.